down in Baltimore before the pro games start. And sitting beside Pete is Don Wagner of Allegheny Analysis. Move over, Reggie Jackson. Mr. October is Don Wagner. Don Wagner will have his first 10-star in college football this weekend, and he's always done well in October. As we turn to my right, speaking of college football, it is Dave Koken of First and Last Sports from Pawtucket, Rhode Island. And Dave, you proved you were human last week. You had a 10-star loser. We'll get into that a little bit later in the program. Turning to the pro game, Dennis Hill, King of the Hill Sports, has done extremely well in another big weekend for him last weekend, and we'll get into the pro games a little bit later in the program. When we come back, it's Air Force and Notre Dame. But first, let's take a look at some numbers and percentages of our handicappers have done so far on the show. Have you ever wondered who the insiders like in the top college and pro football games each week? Now with Dial-A-Pick, you can receive the strongest information from the top football handicappers across the country. King of the Hill Sports, Atlantic City Sports, The Gold Sheet, Edmund Slick Sports, Allegheny's Analysis, and First and Last Sports. For your free starter kit and further details, call toll-free 1-800-842-2489. Call Dial-A-Pick and start winning today.
We're about to give you 100 rolls of film, absolutely free, just to introduce a remarkable new 35mm camera. Presenting the Spectra Super 2. You just aim and shoot. No fumbling with confusing dials. Just set it once and take perfect pictures anywhere, even indoors. That's right, the Spectra Super 2 comes complete with an electronic flash. You never took perfect flash pictures so easily. Your Spectra Super 2 has an optical glass 50mm lens that takes perfect shots from 4 feet to 4 miles. Plus, you get a radial zoom lens for creative effects like this. And look, the Spectra Super 2 even comes with this professional 4-foot tripod. No more blurs, tilts, or cut-off heads. Spectra Super 2 is a complete camera outfit. You get the camera, the case, the electronic flash, the radial zoom lens, and the professional tripod, all for only $49.95. But hold on, you also get certificates for 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 rolls of Konica film absolutely free. It's the greatest camera value ever. Have your credit card ready and call now for rush delivery. Here's how to order.
Use your credit card to order. Call toll-free 1-800-221-2100. That's 1-800-221-2100. Or send check or money order for $49.95 plus $5 shipping and handling to Spectra Super 2. P.O. Box 3500, Department NYT, West Caldwell, New Jersey, 07006.
As we move into the college segment of our program, our opener is Notre Dame and Air Force, and the Irish have to be happy to get out of playing Big Ten teams. They are 1-2 this season, all against the Big Ten. And Dennis Hill of King of the Hill Sports, you take a look at this game first.
Jerry wears that antenna now on the top of his head, and I found out why. You can now get Tele-Jerry. That's right, when you're sitting in your home, in your living room, watching the game, you just press this little button, and that calls the play in. So the fans out there haven't been calling good plays. This week, I think he's going to not use Tele-Jerry, and they look very good. I like Notre Dame over Air Force this week, Bobby.
Dave Koken, getting away from this game for a moment. Last weekend, you showed you were human in the college game, going with your first big loser, a 10-star play, and maybe like to elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah, well, we had 11 straight 10-star winners going back to last season. Last week put out a team, the Syracuse Orangemen, and here's one of the Orangemen that's been kind enough to join us this week. They played well for about a half. They were ahead 14-7, and then in the second half it was like they said, oh boy, here come those Virginia Tech people, and they just went like that, and that was the end of the ball game, so I lost. But I'll bounce back this week. Just read where Air Force has the top computer rating in the country. Power rating? No way. Notre Dame plus the points.
Notre Dame this week has to get ready for the wishbone offense. Not many teams any longer in college football go with the wishbone. Don Wagner, does this pose some more problems for Jerry Faust?
I believe it will. I think one thing you have to consider here is the odds in this game. I think the odds makers have put the wrong team up as a favorite. In my opinion, Notre Dame still should be a 3 or 4 point favorite in this ball game. They've played 3 times previously when the odds makers have made Notre Dame anywhere from 15, 16, 10-point favorite. Now all of a sudden, Air Force is a world beater. I look for the Irish to cover and to win the game straight up.
Pete Palmer, we're going to go to you to see if you make it unanimous. I've noticed with your service, you like to take underdogs that you think have a chance to win outright. Last week, you had a big play on Kansas. Didn't beat Florida State, but played them tough. Do you see the Irish as an underdog that has a chance to win?
Yes, I do, Bob. I like Notre Dame. I might as well make it unanimous. I just feel that this is the holy pilgrimage game, and there'll be a lot of novenas and benedictions, and this will save Faust's job.
Also, by the way, this is the first game this season Notre Dame goes in as the underdog. Our next game is in the Big Ten, and it's Illinois and Ohio State. And Dave Koch, I don't think at the beginning of the season many people thought Illinois would be an underdog at home in this game. 2 losses, but not in the Big Ten, so they can still go to the Rose Bowl if they start playing good football.
Yeah, they can still go to the Rose Bowl, but I'll tell you, they better cut down on the turnovers. Even against Southern Illinois, I mean, they just about gave the game away and barely beat that team. But now their real season begins. This is the battle for the Rose Bowl. They've had an extra week to prepare for this game, and I think that'll help Mike White get his team past a rather vulnerable Ohio State secondary. Trudeau will cut down on the interceptions, and Illinois will win outright.
By the way, All-American candidate and Heisman candidate Keith Byers of Ohio State will not play this week. Obviously, that takes a lot away from their running game. And Don Wagner, who do you like?
I have to go right along with Dave there. I really feel that the Illini, 12-1 at home in their last 13 ball games and 9-3 against the line, while you have a Buckeye team coming in who has not covered the spread in their last 6 road games when they've been in competitive ball games. I really like Illinois. I feel that they have just the perfect ingredient to do well here. Don't overlook their defense, because their defense has limited their opponents to 10 points a game in their last 23 games at home. Illinois in a big romp.
Pete Palmer, do you see this as another underdog that could possibly win the game and maybe should be favored playing at home?
I don't think they should be favored. I think in the role as the underdog, they do well anyway. I would prefer just to stay with the Illini. I almost feel like I'm going to make this unanimous again, but I'll bounce the ball over to Dennis.
This is getting a little scary, everybody agreeing on the same games. These guys don't agree on anything. Dennis Hill, how do you see it?
I feel like I'm talking to my wife, but I am going to agree here. This will be the first game that Ohio State really misses Keith Byers. They really will miss him in this game. 17 turnovers for Illinois in their first 3 ball games. That's going to stop this week. I like the underdog. Illinois will win this game outright unanimously.
So unanimously on Illinois, also along with Notre Dame. Last week, our college game of the week was Auburn and Tennessee. We'll go back to the SEC to Baton Rouge, tough place to play. It's LSU in Florida right after this. Atlantic City Sports has beaten the line consistently over the years, producing a mark of 68% winners and a net profit of 101 units. Get the next selection free. Call them at 800-842-CITY. In New Jersey, call 201-272-2470. Come join hands with Atlantic City Sports, where the next selection is free at 800-842-CITY. In New Jersey, 201-272-2470. Join hands with the winner. It's Atlantic City Sports.
If it's winners you're looking for this football season, the TSI Network has your formula for success. Experience. TSI's handicapping staff includes 3 generations. Nationwide network. TSI has contacts in 17 major cities. Las Vegas based. The TSI Network headquarters is in Las Vegas. Equals winners. And if it's winners you're looking for, call on the nationwide network of pros at the TSI Network. Your first winner is absolutely free.
Hi, I'm Dave Kochen. Over the past 5 seasons, my documented winning percentage on my top-rated selections is unsurpassed. If you're a serious player that's willing to pay reasonable rates to a sports service for winning football selections, call First and Last Sports today. The number to call is 800-343-9464, and I'll release to you your first 10-star winner at no charge. Call today, because it's time to get serious.
In a moment, our experts will have game analysis on the Florida LSU game, but a reminder, this is your last chance to enter the World Cup Championship of Handicapping, where Vegas Sportsline will pick up the tab. What we need is your name, address, and phone number to Vegas Sportsline. That's Post Office Box 99, Garwood, New Jersey, 07027. And Dennis, some of the top handicappers in the country will be in this contest, and I think you're all excited about this along with Dave.
Well, I'm excited because one of the Vegas Sports Line girls is going to pull the winner next week, and I get to kiss her. Dave?
You know, what Dennis says is true, and I'm looking forward to that. As far as the viewers are concerned, this is your chance to compete against many of the top sports service operators in the country. It's your chance to beat the real pros.
Don Wagner, over the years, many people have felt that LSU on Saturday night at Baton Rouge is about unbeatable. It's just tough to play down there. Do you agree with this?
Well, maybe for just about a second or two until you dig your head into the record books and look at their record at home. 15-11 at home, that's a mediocre record as far as I consider straight up, and only 9-16, Bob, against the spread. So LSU really is a misleading nomer about them being so invincible at home. Florida's coming in here with their coach still being undefeated, Galen Hall. They beat them twice the last 2 times Florida's played here by 14-point seats. They're going to do it again, Florida by 14.
People, when we're trying to look at this game not as a handicapping viewpoint, it appears as though it's a tough football game.
Yeah, it's very close. I think this game's going to go down to the wire. I'm going to pass.
Dennis, another tough SEC battle. Who do you like?
Well, there's a lot of home dogs this week, 14 of them. It means all the bad teams are playing at home. I got 3 letters in this game, LSU.
Dave Koch, an interesting matchup, contrasting styles. Kerwin Bell likes to throw the football Florida. With James and Hilliard, they will try to run it down your throat at LSU.
Yeah, this should be an exciting game, but the one thing that I can draw a parallel here is, and it's kind of a riddle form, what do Vanessa Williams and Florida have in common? They were both stripped of their crowns. Now, we have a situation here where Florida gets a chance to get their revenge, and among the schools, don't forget it was LSU replaced them in the bowl game. They got their title, and among the schools that opposed Florida keeping their title, the most vocal was LSU. Vengeance today, or Saturday rather, in Baton Rouge, Florida all the way.
The pro games are up next. The Cardinals continue to fly high while the Redskins continue to struggle. In the nation's capital, can the Redskins bounce back? We'll find out right after this.
Hello, this is Jim Pettit of Computer Fact Sports with your thought for the week. To panic when you are losing makes for more losing, while getting cocky and too sure of yourself leads to overconfidence and mistakes. Keep your head and emotions in balance. Think about it.
Hi, I'm Don Wagner of Allegheny's Analysis. I've been in the sports analysis business for 15 years. During that period of time, I've been rated #1 by the following: the American Association of Documented Sports Services, the McCusker Report, and the Sports Monitor. Now you can have your first play free by calling Allegheny's Analysis at 800-526-2703. In New Jersey, 800-654-1313. Get your first free play now. Call Allegheny Analysis, where winning is a habit.
If you are tempted by high tax-free yields but still haven't succumbed, Dreyfus has an intriguing new idea for you. The Dreyfus Insured Tax-Exempt Bond Fund. High yields without high anxiety. 100% insured portfolio, interest and principal. An investment policy aimed at 100% exemption from federal income tax and no sales load. All your money works for you. What's that? Tax exempts are just for the few? Wrong. Whatever your taxable income, your Dreyfus tax-exempt yield can prove more profitable than higher taxable yields. Call 1-800-551-5700 for the tax-exempt income chart, for information, for a prospectus. High tax-exempt yield without worry. 100% insured portfolio. The magic number is 1-800-551-5700.
Welcome back to the Vegas Sports Line. This week on the pro segment of the program, 2 key NFC Eastern Division matchups. Our opener, the Redskins and the Cardinals. And Dennis Hill, it's been, I think, 2 years on opening day against the Cowboys, the last time the Redskins were an underdog at home.
Well, it's been a long time. They got a lot of problems down in Washington. But it seems like Monday Night Football has brought the best out of some bad teams this year. And the Dogs have covered all 4 Monday night meetings, and this will be the 5th straight week that a dog covers on Monday night. Bobby, I like Theismann and Washington this week.
Dave, I don't know who you like in the game. We'll find out in a moment. St. Louis scores a lot of points, but they've been giving up about 28 points a game also, which is a negative statistic.
Yeah, well, you can afford to do that when you've got the explosive offense that they have. You know, it's interesting. Remember this summer John Riggins fell asleep at some important function in Washington. I think he would have been better off staying asleep and not waking up to face what is happening in Washington right now. I can't recommend the Redskins here because I think they're in disarray both on and off the field. But there are too many technical trends that point to Washington, so I'll pass.
Aside from Marino to Clayton or Duper, maybe Lomax to Green is the best combination in football, and obviously the Redskins secondary, Don Wagner, will have their hands full.
They certainly will. Getting back to what you said, Dave, I think that the Riggins could stay asleep there maybe for the ball game because I think George Rogers showed his spark last week against a very tough team and ran well. So I think George Rogers may be a big asset here. And I think Theismann's throwing the ball well. He's looking good. Washington is 9-1 against the Cardinals on home turf and 16-0 after their openers. I like Washington to win this game by 20.
And Pete Palmer, right now the Redskins with only one win, they were lucky to beat Houston at home. So really they've had a tough time of it in the early going.
Right. I tend to like Washington, but very small. I think Washington is not playing well, but they have a new punter this week, and it won't be broken-toe Theismann. I like Washington just as the home dog, and St. Louis on the cross turf, I don't think they should be favored.
Pete, our next game will go to a team in your neck of the woods, the New England Patriots against the Cleveland Browns. The big question here, Raymond Barry said he may not start Tony East and he may go to Steve Grogan. That could cause some problems at quarterback with that team after the loss to the Raiders.
Well, I really think that the Patriots played as well as they could last week, and yet they somehow gave the ball game away. I like the Cleveland Browns in this particular situation. It's a revenge match from last year. Cleveland was down at the 15-yard line with a couple of seconds left. Pats intercepted. There'll be some hitting in this one. Brownies.
Dennis, Cleveland may not have won 21-7 if Fouts would have played last week. He got hurt after the first touchdown, but they still play good defense, and that's the strength of this team.
I said before the season started that Cleveland would be a much improved football team, and they're doing the things they have to do to become a winner, and that's keep Bernie Kosar on the sideline with Gary Danielson as his teacher. This is a very, very hard football game. I don't think the Patsies have it this year, and Cleveland looks like a good play in this situation.
Dave, is Raymond Barry still taking his notes on the sideline so he knows who his players are?
I think Raymond has finally figured out who his players are, but they're not playing well, and he doesn't know who to start and who not to start. Nobody knows who owns the team. Raymond Barry is the worst coach in the National Football League. I make fun of Jerry Faust, but when a guy is coaching at the professional level and does the job that Raymond Barry does, not funny. He's a bad football coach, and the Pats are in trouble. I like Cleveland.
Don, the problem with New England so far is Tony Easton. He's thrown already as many interceptions this year as he did all last season.
And he'll continue to throw more and more and more, I'm sure. Thing here, Cleveland is 8-17 at home as a favorite, so they don't respond well, and I don't think they will respond well here. So we should naturally play New England, right? Well, wrong. They're 1-7 on natural grass, and also 1-5 in the role as an underdog. So it's going to be a very, very tough game. I don't like the game at all. I'm going to punt and say Cleveland maybe by 2.
And this week on ABC, it'll be a Sunday night special. It will be the Cowboys taking on the Giants. And if you like defense, you're going to see it in this game. Game analysis and the big one in the NFC East right after this.
Hello, this is Jim Pettit of Computer Facts Sports. In this day and age of everyone claiming to be a winner, you must check out the facts. And speaking of facts, I won Pro Football Weekly's National Handicappers Bowl both in 1983 and again in 1984. This weekend received my top pro and college play of the week free by calling 1-800-722-2001. Call Computer Facts and get the real facts.
Hi, I'm Dave Kogan. Over the past 5 seasons, my documented winning percentage on my top-rated selections is unsurpassed. If you're a serious player that's willing to pay reasonable rates to a sports service for winning football selections, call First and Last Sports today. The number to call is 800-343-9464, and I'll release to you your first 10-star winner at no charge. Call today because it's time to get serious.
Welcome back to the Vegas Sports Line for our pro game of the week. It's the Giants and Cowboys, and Dave Koch and I wouldn't want to be a receiver going across the secondary with these two teams. They appear to be even on paper. Do you see an edge?
Yeah, I see one edge, and that is Tom Landry is not going to lose 3 in a row to Bill Parcells. This should be a very entertaining game. Two super defenses, but I like Landry over Parcells, so I'll take the Cowboys.
Everybody talks about the Cowboys-Redskins rivalry, and Don Wagner, I think that maybe Landry gets pumped up a little bit more for the Giants only because he used to coach with the Giants, and he doesn't want to lose to this club 3 in a row.
I'm sure he does, and he doesn't want to lose to anybody. And if you remember from the first show, I've told you the Dallas Cowboys are a rebuilt, re-going team, and they're going to be back strong and heavy, and they're showing that power all year long. Dallas is going to win this game. I like them to win by 7 points. And I think the odds makers are going to be probably surprised by the margin and ease that they're going to win this ball game. The Dallas defense is fantastic.
Speaking of defense, one player that will be on the field, number 56, LT. And when Tony Dorsett gets the football, Taylor will be looking for him. Pete Palmer, that has to be a key to the game, defensively controlling the tempo for either side.
Right. I would tend, though, to like the Giants. I always agreeing with Don and everyone else here, but I do like the Giants. I just think Dallas will have to prove it again to me. I'll take the Giants.
You would think on paper Septian has an edge in a close game over Atkinson, and Dennis uncharacteristically missed 4 field goals last week. Septian, he may bounce back this week. Of course, the starting field goal kicker, Ali Haji Sheik, out for the Giants.
Well, percentages always catch up to you. Kickers have to go through it, and I think Septian's experiencing that this year. Both teams last week played similar games, with the Giants beating the Eagles 16-10 and Dallas beating Houston 17-10. So I think they were really looking ahead to this football game. But I listened to the end of the Eagles game, and the Giants did not play well here. I like Dallas in this football game.
Boy, if any game, Dennis, looked like an underplay, it would appear maybe this game with these two defenses. But most people thought that when Washington played Dallas, but the score was 44-14. The defense set up the scores. Do you see that happening here? A defensive play making or breaking this ball game?
Well, I feel this way. When you have two good defensive teams playing together, there's a lot of intensity, and you make mistakes. I think you'll see more mistakes on the Giants side this week, and I look for a relatively high-scoring ball game. Overs have been very prevalent in the NFL this year.
Okay, two good defenses, but Dennis likes the over there. We'll get his opinion on that game. We'll be back with closing comments from our guests right after this.
Hi, I'm Don Wagner of Alleghany's Analysis. I've been in the sports analysis business for 15 years. During that period of time, I've been rated #1 by the following: the American Association of Documented Sports Services, McCusker Report, and the Sports Monitor. Now you can have your first play free by calling Alleghany's Analysis at 800-526-2703. In New Jersey, 800-654-1313. Get your first free play now. Call Alleghany Analysis, where winning is a habit.
The Victory Line, where one call gets it all. Free. 814-234-2233. Get tomorrow's information today. Line updates, injury reports, plus a free selection daily provided by Don Wagner, Dennis Hill, Edmund Slick, Dave Kochen, and Rick Rossi. Call the Victory Line now. 814-234-2233. It's the closest thing to a sure winner.
Who's 11-2 this year in college football? Whose sports service record now stands at an impressive 17-7 for 1985? And who's going to give away a free weekend with no strings attached? It's Mike Thompson's Sports Line. Call Mike now at 516-883-8002. That's 516-883-8002. That's Mike Thompson's Sports Line, where winning is a tradition.
Welcome back again to the Vegas Sports Line. At this time, we would like to thank Pete Palmer of Pete Palmer Sports from Boston, Massachusetts, for coming on the program. As always, Pete, a pleasure seeing you, and thanks for being here, and maybe we'll see you again later in the season.
Thank you, Bob.
And we'll go to Don Wagner. And Don, you always want to talk about baseball. By the time this show airs, the Mets will be history. So what do you want to talk about?
Well, this is true. I don't want to write any postmortems to anybody, but I just think baseball is a great sport. You know, it's something I always enjoyed playing, and I just think it's a great sport to handicap because bookmakers just run from you when you want to play baseball because they know you can beat them.
And with the way you've been going this year, I can see why you want to talk about baseball. I'll go to my right. And Dave, you have a funny look on your face right now. What's the problem here?
Well, I have a problem. Back home in one of the better-known restaurants on the east side of Providence, they've named a sandwich after me called the Coke and Connection. And they told me that if I have another Saturday like I did last Saturday, they're going to throw me off the menu. So the pressure's on this Saturday. I'm going to do well.
Dennis, anything interesting stick out as far as the NFL? One quarter of the season has gone by. Do you see anything you'd like to talk about?
Well, the injury to Dan Fouts is really going to hurt San Diego. I felt that they may have given their division a title run this year, but not without Fouts, and I think that's hurt. And with Cincinnati winning this week, I love it. And Dave Koken and I, when we appear together on Vegas Sportsline, we'll give out the Class Act Award every week in the sports field, and this week it goes to Howard Cosell for ripping apart his ex-cohorts. Right, David?
That's right. They call him the mouth that bored. And who does Howard Cosell think he is? We're not sure, but he's not the best announcer that ever lived.
When these two guys are together, it's hard to get a word in edgewise, Don, and I see your hand up as a teacher maybe at one time. You got something to say?
I want to get back to Dennis, and I want Dennis to tell us how that 90-point rule did that he talked about and told us he was going to tell us how it did last week. So I think, Dennis, you want to give us some good news, buddy?
That's true. The good news is the teams that were in the 90-point theory won 1, lost 4. We've got teams in it this week, too. I'm not going to tell you. You do the work.
Thanks again to P. Palmer and the rest of the crew. I'm Bob Hannon for Vegas Sportsline. We'll be back next week, and we hope you will be, too. Have a good week, everyone.
Hi, Dennis Hill of King of the Hill Sports. I'll match my 10-star record against any sports service in the country, bar none. This Sunday, I'll be releasing my October NFL Game of the Month to serious callers. The numbers to call are 800-334-KING. In New Jersey, 800-554-3322. For serious callers, this game comes fully guaranteed. Call King of the Hill Sports and get my NFL October Game of the Month.
Are you searching for a publication that offers more than just the score? Introduce yourself to Las Vegas Sports News, the only sports weekly that gives you stats, handicapping advice, plus the lowdown on the nation's leading sports services. Before you make your next investment, check the pages of Las Vegas Sports News. Call 800-722-2001 now and receive a full 1/3 off on your subscription. That's 800-722-2001 for Las Vegas Sports News.
Welcome back to the Vegas Sports Line. It's now time for game analysis from our experts in college football. Our opening game is SMU against Baylor. It's a Southwest Conference matchup. Of course, the winner of the conference goes to the Cotton Bowl. Dennis, last week, SMU, did they get caught looking ahead in their loss to Arizona?
When I first looked at the schedules this year, I was not impressed who Baylor had to play and on the road. But now they've proven that they are a very good football team. SMU, on the other hand, has Bobby Collins, who is a good coach against bad teams and a bad coach against good teams. In this game, I think the Bears look like the side to play. I like Baylor to win this game, Bobby.
Don, one of the more impressive wins for Baylor this season was over USC, shutting down their ground attack. They will have to do it again on Saturday against Atkins and Dupard, maybe the best tandem in college football.
They had their work cut out for them. I agree, Bob. Several things here are interesting about the ball game. And SMU, I think the number would be a lot higher, but of course, reacting to the loss at Arizona, Baylor with the impressive win at Southern Cal with a good game against Georgia. The lines maker has now dropped the line. Dennis, I have to disagree with you a little bit. I think that SMU is a good play up to 7.
Dave Koch, and I think Don Wagner brings up a good point. If this game were last weekend, maybe SMU would be 9 or 10.
Yeah, the adjustment here is incorrect, too. Now, SMU is on probation this year, and these non-conference games just don't mean anything to them. That's maybe the same story with Florida. Remember what they did against Rutgers? This is a game SMU cares about, and in fact, the only good game they played this year was against TCU, a conference opponent, and they blew them off the field. I don't think this will be a blowout, but I look for SMU to win the game by at least 2 touchdowns.
And right now, SMU is 6-point favorite in the game playing at home. And Rip, who do you like?
I like Southern Methodist. They've been slapped on the hands, and they're at home. They want to improve their record. And this is a game on the schedule which could make or break them. After this game, they can go either way. Atlantic City Sports likes Southern Methodist.
And Dennis, you're on the limb by yourself with Baylor in this game. Next college football game is Oklahoma and Texas, that big battle every year in the Cotton Bowl. And many people feel Oklahoma and Barry Switzer, the best team in the country, haven't been tested yet, playing Minnesota and Kansas State. Don Wagner, they will be tested this week.
I think the lines maker disagrees with you, Bob. I think they feel that possibly Texas has not been tested yet because they're playing Missouri and Stanford and really just narrowly winning those 2 ball games. An interesting stat I dug up for this game is that the last 10 years when these teams have played, 9 times Texas has entered this game with a perfect record, and Oklahoma has entered 6 times. The dog has covered 9 out of the 10 times for Texas when they've been in that situation, and 4-2 in this series. I like Texas to cover the spread and make it a very competitive football game.
Dave Koken, really no home field advantage in this game down in the Cotton Bowl. The crowd should be pretty much split. Oklahoma, are they the best club in the country right now?
No, I don't believe they are. In fact, I don't think anybody from the Big 8 is the best team in the country. That conference is not doing as well as they have in the past. The thing I like about Texas in this game is last week Todd Dodge threw for about 350-something yards. That's not a Texas-style football. They're used to grind it out on the ground type of thing. But here's Dodge throwing the ball, and that's a big edge for them in this game. I like Texas to pull the upset. You won't even need the points.
Rip, we've talked about recruiting in the past. I think Texas, who dominated the Southwest Conference for so many years, may be losing some of the good players now to SMU, Arkansas, and Baylor, and maybe they don't have the good athletes that they had 10 years ago.
I look for Barry Switzer, who's bringing the Sooners along a little slower so they peak a little later on during the season, which is just what he's doing here. The early season ratings have caused havoc with whoever has been picked. I like Oklahoma to win by at least 10.
Dennis, there was a time when Oklahoma only had to get up in league play for Nebraska. Now there's Oklahoma State, which is a pretty good football team. Texas used to be a really big game for them. I think it still is, but maybe not as important as it once was.
The important aspect of this game is Freddie Akers has scheduled some teams to give his defense a few different looks, especially from a passing attack that they played against Stanford coming out the winner, which was a tough ball game. And now they go in against an Oklahoma team who just runs the ball. This will go right down to the wire. The points always look good in this game, and King of the Hill Sports likes Texas.
Definitely contrasting styles from a couple of weeks ago when Texas had to face John Pay, one of the better passers in the country. This week, they will get the ball run down their throat. They'll have to try to stop it. Speaking of running the football, Pat Dye likes to do it at Auburn. Florida State will put it in the air. That's our college football game of the week, right after this message.
Hi, Dennis Hill of King of the Hill Sports. I'll match my 10-star record against any sports service in the country, bar none. This Sunday, I'll be releasing my October NFL Game of the Month to serious callers. The numbers to call are 800-334-KING. In New Jersey, 800-554-3322. For serious callers, this game comes fully guaranteed. Call King of the Hill Sports and get my NFL October Game of the Month.
The Victory Line, where one call gets it all. Free. 814-234-2233. Get tomorrow's information today. Line updates, injury reports, plus a free selection daily provided by Don Wagner, Dennis Hill, Edmund Slick, Dave Koken, and Rick Rossi. Call the Victory Line now. 814-234-2233. It's the closest thing to a sure winner.
Have you ever wondered who the insiders like in the top college and pro football games each week? Now with Dial-A-Pick, you can receive the strongest information from the top football handicappers across the country. King of the Hill Sports, Atlantic City Sports. The Gold Sheet, Edmund Slick Sports, Allegheny's Analysis, and First and Last Sports. For your free starter kit and further details, call toll-free 1-800-842-2489. Call, dial a pick, and start winning today. Last year in Tallahassee, Florida State and Auburn played one of the best college football games of the season. Auburn rallied to win 42-41. Bo Jackson and crew, Dave Koken coming off a big win over Mississippi, but Florida State, I think, a little bit better football team.
Well, I'm not sure. I know the difficult thing in this game is going to be, on the one hand, you have Florida State's superb record as a road dog, and on the other hand, you have Auburn's tremendous record as a home favorite. And the Transvestites, they're not going to know what to do with this game. I disagree with you, Bob. I think Auburn is the better football team here, and that's the side I like.
Who's not going to know what to do with this game?
The Transvestites.
Okay, I wanted to make sure about that. Yes. All right, speaking of Bo Jackson, last year many people felt Auburn was a better football team when he was not in the lineup. That's hard to believe, and there's a lot of controversy down at Auburn with Bo Jackson now back and getting the football quite a bit. But, Rip, I got to believe he's one of the best players in the country.
I agree, too, Bob. Coach Dye went from the wishbone to the eye so Bo Jackson could run with the ball more. But he found out at Tennessee you need a little more variety in your attack. I think he has that now, and he'll get a big game from Bo Jackson this week. Atlantic City Sports likes Auburn.
Dennis Hill, I don't think the Florida State will be in awe of playing in Auburn. They already won in Lincoln, Nebraska, and year in and year out they play one of the toughest road schedules in the country. Who do you like?
But before I give a pick on this game, I'm going to throw it back to Coker over there. I don't want to be doing a pick and be known as a transvestite. What is a transvestite?
Okay, what that is a person who has all these statistics and trends in front of them and just blindly picks games that way and tries to make believe he's a handicapper, but it's just a masquerade.
Dennis, before your makeup runs, why don't you make a pick in this game?
Oh, thanks a lot, Bob. I don't know. I saw Bo Jackson sitting on the bench there. He looked like he couldn't even care if Mississippi came to Auburn. And I'll tell you what, Pat Dye does have a very good football team. Florida State's an up-and-down football team. From the heart, I'll take Auburn.
All right, Don Wagner, college weekend last weekend had a big pick in Florida. Now do you come back with Florida State?
Well, you know, all my friends have been telling me I'm too serious on this show. I'm such a crazy guy off the set. And they said, you're such a straight guy on this show. He said, I can't believe it. So I told him I'll do something a little crazy here today.
You have friends?
I have two.
Okay.
Two. Two, okay. Anyways, we look at the situation here. Auburn, I look at this kind of like a battle of the top hits in the country, oldies but goodies. You know, you have Auburn playing a song here, Eye of the Tiger, of course, by Bo Jackson all the way. And then the other side, you have here, on the road again, Bobby Bowden, who's proven he can beat Ohio State, Miami, Nebraska, all the teams he's won on the road and had this kind of success. So it's kind of a matchup between these two top songs. Allegheny's Analysis picking the #1 song this week, Florida State.
Okay, Don. First 2 weeks of the season, it was the Aints. Now they're the Saints again in New Orleans because they've played better football the last couple of weeks. They take on the Raiders, and game analysis in the pros right after this.
Hello, this is Jim Pettit from Computer Fact Sports with your thought for the week. Learn all you can about probability and the odds you must play into. Luck and chance are not prejudiced for either the good or the bad handicap. Accept luck with humility and never bet your whole bankroll on it. Think about it.
Ginnie Mae isn't a girl, but a Ginnie Mae is beautiful. These Government National Mortgage Association certificates, GNMA, pay high yields and are 100% U.S. government guaranteed. Delightful for the moneyed few who could afford them. Now Dreyfus brings to you the same Ginnie Maes once reserved for the few. The Dreyfus Ginnie Mae Fund. High yields, 100% U.S. government guaranteed. How high? As this chart reveals, Ginnie Mae yields have been consistently higher than U.S. Treasury notes. Higher, too, than high-grade corporate bonds. With Dreyfus, you pay no sales load, and Dreyfus watches over its Ginnie Mae portfolio like a lion guards its cubs. Call 1-800-551-5700 for the yields chart, for information, for a prospectus, for the lion's share. Call 1-800-551-5700 and say Ginnie Mae.
Welcome back to the Vegas Sports Line. Our first pro game this week is out on the West Coast where the Raiders take on the Saints. And Rip Rossi, a couple weeks ago, Saints had a good time on the West Coast. They beat the San Francisco 49ers. Do you see them making it 2 in a row?
The Raiders, as a result of draft picks in the last 2 or 3 years, have really shored up their defense, and it's starting to show now. Plus,
on Vegas Sports Line last weekend at Legion Field in Alabama, Dave Koken called the upset with Tennessee beating the Crimson Tide. They lost quarterback Tony Robinson, but here's how Dave Koken called that upset victory.
This week, Alabama's defense is going to be tested by something that they don't handle very well, which is the pass. And I think that Robinson and McGee are going to hook up for a few touchdowns. I like Tennessee to win for the 4th straight year.
It's another SEC encounter in college football this weekend, Georgia and Kentucky. That's our first college football game this weekend, coming up on Vegas Sports Line.
Vegas Sports Line with your host, Bob Hannon. The nation's leading football handicappers, Dennis Hill, Edmund Slick, Don Wagner, Dave Koken, and Rip Rossi. Plus, the Vegas Sports Line girl. This week's guest handicapper, Dennis Tobler, TSI Sports. Now, here's your host for Vegas Sports Line, Bob Hannon.
Good evening and welcome to Vegas Sports Line. The Iowa Hawkeyes continue to be the #1 club in college football after their win over Michigan last Saturday 12-10, and well-deserving. Penn State has moved up to #2, and still 2 unbeaten teams in the NFL, the Los Angeles Rams and the Chicago Bears, and they will be involved in games this week we'll talk about in our pro segment. But let's meet our panel for this week, and we welcome back Dennis Tobler of TSI Network in Las Vegas. And Dennis, welcome back. When you were with us earlier this year, a record of 5-1. You will try to top that this weekend.
Yeah, 5-1's pretty good, Bob, but I'm going to try real hard to go 6-0 for the fans this week.
And our resident scholar beside Dennis is Don Wagner of Allegheny Analysis, and we mentioned a couple weeks ago about October being Don's month. He is sizzling at 15-5, and your hot pick goes this Saturday, Don.
Yes, it does, Bobby, and the Penn State-West Virginia game is going to be an interesting ball game.
As we turn to my right, sometimes known as Frickin' Frack, Dennis Hill and Dave Koken. Dennis, of course, another big weekend for you, 7-2, and you hit a big college game Saturday night, SMU rolling over Houston.
Yeah, I'd like to say, Bob, that next week we're going to have the winners' names mentioned on the World Cup of Football handicapping, and some of the big services that were out there in Las Vegas didn't fare too well against the amateurs. And Don Venatucci was out there, Mark Lawrence, the whole host of them. Dave, what were you doing while they were out there?
Well, I was working a little bit. We had our Game of the Year last week. And I guess, Bobby, I don't like to blow my own horn. I'll let Bobby Hannon tell you about that.
And as we mentioned last week on the show, we promo Dave's Game of the Year. And if you weren't in on USC rolling over Stanford, you missed a big contest. Also, the Syracuse win over Penn State. And Colorado, a blowout of Iowa State. And you had a good day in the pros, Dave.
Yeah, we won 2 more games in the pros on Sunday, so it was a perfect weekend at First and Last Sports.
All right, enough about Dave Koken. He said enough. You did enough winning. Let one of us win this week.
All right, speaking of analysis, we're coming back, and we're going to go down to the SEC. It's Georgia and Kentucky right after this timeout.
The Victory Line, where one call gets it all. Free, 814-234-2233. Get tomorrow's information today. Line updates, injury reports, plus a free selection daily provided by Don Wagner, Dennis Hill, Edmund Slick, Dave Koken, and Rip Rossi. Call the Victory Line now. 814-234-2233. It's the closest thing to a sure winner.
Hi, Don Wagner of Allegheny's Analysis. I'm hot. I've hit 11 straight 10-star plays in college, and number 12 is here this weekend. Penn State versus West Virginia. I've never missed a Penn State 10-star play. I always know when to go with the Nittany Lions and when to go against them. And you can have this play fully guaranteed for $99 if you call 1-800-654-1313. In Pennsylvania, 814-237-3377. Call me now and let's hit this game together.
Welcome back to the Vegas Sports Line. Our opening college football contest down between the hedges in Athens, Georgia, where it'll be the Bulldogs taking on Kentucky. And Dave Koken, disappointment last weekend for both teams, probably a little bit more for Georgia being tied by Vanderbilt.
Yeah, not very impressive on Georgia's part, only getting a tie against a weak Vanderbilt club that's been racked by injuries all year. Kentucky lost 10-0 to Louisiana State in a pretty bad football game last Saturday night. And the Wildcats continue to have a lot of offensive problems, especially with their quarterback, Ransdell, being out. But their defense continues to play very well. Georgia, they're not very impressive this year. They may be the worst 4-1-1 team in the country. I'm going to make a weak lean on Kentucky with the points here.
Dennis, it appeared Georgia was starting to come around a bit anyway before last weekend's tie at Vanderbilt, but their offense really didn't get anything going last weekend.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The Wildcats looked like kitty cats last week against LSU, and now they go and play between the hedges. They've got a very slow offense. They do have a decent defense, and this will be a boring game. Lawn Doctor will be there to watch the grass grow between the hedges, and I'll take Georgia for sleepy time.
Don Wagner, I think Dave and Dennis brought up a good point. Good defense by Kentucky, but they show no offense and couldn't keep them in the game last weekend.
Absolutely. One of the things I think hampered the young quarterback Dooley there was the rain. He has very small hands, and a lot of times the quarterbacks that had the small hands cannot hold on the ball, and his passes look like shot put shots going out, you know, and just falling aimlessly, nobody catching them. 1977, that's an important year for Kentucky. That's the last year they beat Georgia, 33-0. And I hear Claiborne has got some special Mountain Dew up in the hills, bringing its same brew down for this ball game. Kentucky to win the game straight up in a shocker.
Dennis Tobler, two veteran coaches here in this game. You have Dole going up against Claiborne, so two coaches that have been around the block a couple times and both looking for a bowl. Maybe not the sugar, but at least going to some bowl at the end of the season.
Yes, I think Claiborne probably has more to win in a game like this. Dooley tried to make his run for the Senate. I think he's probably more concerned with getting retirement than he is winning football games. I look for this game to be a very low-scoring football game. Both defenses are very tough, especially Georgia at home. I'll take Kentucky to cover the inflated point spread.
Dennis?
Don, how can that quarterback correct that small hand problem?
Get a smaller ball.
We'll go to our next college football game. It's a Big 8 matchup between Oklahoma State and Kansas. And Oklahoma State is now at a week off to lick their wounds from losing to Nebraska once again. Maybe try to get pumped back up for Kansas, Dennis.
Well, one thing that Nebraska did to Oklahoma State was stop their running game. They do have a good quarterback and they're passing, but I said before the season started that Kansas may be the surprise team of the Big 8. I like Kansas getting the points at home, and I look for them to win this game outright.
Don Wagner, a couple of tough losses for Kansas. Down in Tallahassee, had Florida State down 10 in the fourth quarter and lost by 4, and also upset by Iowa State. Now they try to come back after beating Kansas State last weekend against a pretty good football team.
Everybody has a team that's kind of their nemesis they can't handle. For Kansas, it's always Oklahoma State. They just can't beat them. The last 10, 11 times they played, no wins. A couple ties, but never a victory. And psychologically, that can wear on you as a fan, as a coach, and as a player. I think the same thing is true here. Oklahoma State is going to win this football game. They always lose to Nebraska, which they did again, but they always bounce back. They're 8-2 against the spread after losing to Nebraska. I look for Oklahoma State to win this game by 10 points.
Dennis, obviously for Kansas to stay in the game, a key will be to stop Thurman Thomas. Nebraska did a pretty good job of that. They forced Oklahoma State to throw the football, and they won the game. How do you see it?
I think there's a couple keys here, not only to stop Thurman Thomas, but also to give Northseth a chance to throw the ball against Oklahoma State. The defense for Oklahoma State has always been very good. However, Northseth is a junior college transfer. He's just now learning to read the defenses in the Big 8. I look for Kansas to pull a shocker here. Last year, Oklahoma State bombed them at Stillwater. I think Kansas, with the emotion on its side this week, will win the game straight up.
I know, Dave Koken, early in the season you were talking big things about Kansas. You had them as a big play in a rout over Vanderbilt. Are they good enough to play with this Oklahoma State team, which last year went to the Gator Bowl and they were winners there?
I don't know if they're good enough to beat Oklahoma State yet, but they're getting there, and I think they're certainly good enough to stay with Oklahoma State. And I look for the coaching edge to make a difference here because I think Gottlieb is a better coach than Pat Jones. He's certainly willing to take more chances. And in college football, when you've got a passer like Northseth, that's a good way to coach. He also got his bad game out of his system against Iowa State a couple of weeks ago, a shocking loss. This is a game that Kansas needs to win if they're going to get to a bowl. I'll take Kansas with the points.
When you talk about the Minnesota Gophers, names like Michael Thompson, Ray Williams, and Randy Brewer come to mind. But now they're playing football under Lou Holtz. This week they get the Ohio State Buckeyes at home, and that's our college game of the week right after this.
If it's winners you're looking for, the TSI Network has your formula for success. Experience. TSI has 3 generations on its handicapping staff, plus a nationwide network. TSI has contacts in 17 major cities, plus Las Vegas-based. TSI is headquartered in Las Vegas, where the numbers originate and change. Equals winners. And if it's winners you're looking for, call on the pros at the TSI Network. Your first winner is absolutely free.
Are you searching for a publication that offers more than just the score? Introduce yourself to Las Vegas Sports News, the only sports weekly that gives you stats, handicapping advice, plus the lowdown on the nation's leading sports services. Before you make your next investment, check the pages of Las Vegas Sports News. Call 800-722-2001 now and receive a full 1/3 off on your subscription. That's 800-722-2001 for Las Vegas Sports News.
Welcome back to the Vegas Sports Line. We'll get to our college football game of the week in a moment. We'd like to remind all our viewers on SPN, beginning next Friday night, we will be on at 9:30 throughout the rest of the football season. That's next Friday, 9:30. And also a reminder to all our other affiliates and people watching elsewhere, we'll be on the same time next week. Now our college game of the week is Minnesota and Ohio State. Lou Holtz has really turned things around in Minnesota, but Keith Byers is back and 2 touchdowns late in the game to beat Purdue. And I think it was those big hands that did it for the Buckeyes and Byers last week, Don.
Oh, those hands, I tell you, they're getting me in trouble this week. Talking about sizes of things and whatever, Lou Holtz, I know comparing to Earl Bruce, I want him on my coaching staff rather than Earl Bruce when it comes to a game like this. Lou Holtz is worth 7 points in this ball game just by being there. Sometimes people say in a horse race, you can't win without the horses, and this is true. But if the horses are equal, the jockey is the key variable. I only wish that Minnesota had a couple more Gophers for them, because if they did, they'd be very competitive in this ball game. Minnesota 6-0 against the line when they play Ohio State at home. But this is going to be a tough ball game. I'm going to look for Ohio State to win by 5 in a real close game.
Dennis Tobler, one interesting statistic on last week's Minnesota win over Indiana, 22-7. They didn't complete a pass in the football game, which obviously tells us they don't have that good of a passing game, but a great running attack.
Yes, they have a good running attack. However, in this game, when the Buckeye defense is finished with Ricky Foggy, he will literally be foggy. Keith Byers will run for 200 yards. The Ohio State offense will control the ball the whole game. If you've ever wanted a game that you can step out on, this is it. Whoa. Ohio State will roll them by 20 points or more.
And Dave Cook, and I do agree with Don Wagner in one aspect. I would take Lou Holtz over Elmer Fudd.
Yeah, I'll go
I
along
don't
with
know if that'll be enough, though. Ohio State seems to have a little bit more in the running game and also, of course, the fine passing attack.
Yeah, I think I'd go along with your statement about Holtz being a better coach than Earl Bruce, but Earl Bruce has the better talent here. And I suspect that their ground game is just, if they get ahead early, they just will continue to run the ball, and run the ball. And that's a good thing, too, because Carcedos, the Ohio State quarterback, he's got those small hands. Of course, that wouldn't matter in this is why Minnesota and Ohio State are playing this game indoors, so the weather won't be a factor and his small hands won't mean anything. I like Ohio State by 10.
And Dennis, maybe the only quality opponent right now that Minnesota's played is Oklahoma. Played them tough, lost 13-7, but Sooners may not be as good as advertised. Miami opened it up last week and knocked them off in Norman.
Well, you know, Lou Holtz has upset the apple cart up there at Minnesota. He said, get rid of the gopher. Let's bring in a guy that looks like he's a mascot. He's a good coach, but I think the Ohio State players will win in spite of their bad coach. They'll say, forget Earl, we'll just run the ball. And Keith Byers wants to prove to the country that he is the premier back along with Bo Jackson. I'm going to agree with Dennis Tobler. I won't step out in this game because I might get hit by a car. But I do like Ohio State to win the game by at least 2 touchdowns.
And when we come back, we'll go to pro game analysis. And we'll go to North Jersey at the Meadowlands, where it's the Jets and Seahawks right after this.
Ginnie Mae isn't a girl, but a Ginnie Mae is beautiful. These Government National Mortgage Association certificates, GNMA, pay high yields and are 100% U.S. government guaranteed. Delightful for the moneyed few who could afford them. Now Dreyfus brings to you the same Ginnie Maes once reserved for the few. The Dreyfus Ginnie Mae Fund. High yields, 100% U.S. government guaranteed. How high? As this chart reveals, Ginnie Mae yields have been consistently higher than U.S. Treasury notes. Higher, too, than high-grade corporate bonds. With Dreyfus, you pay no sales load, and Dreyfus watches over its Ginnie Mae portfolio like a lion guards its cubs. Call 1-800-551-5700 for the yields chart, for information, for a prospectus, for the lion's share. Call 1-800-551-5700 and say Ginnie Mae.
Seattle and the Jets are opening pro game for the Meadowlands, where the Seahawks continue to have problems scoring points. And Dennis Tobler, what's really amazing to me is Darryl Turner, who tore up the league last year as a rookie wide receiver out of Michigan State, hasn't caught a pass the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's amazing to me too, Bobby. One of the problems is Dave Craig is probably a minor league quarterback at best. Also, the Seattle Seahawks seem to think that they had already won the Super Bowl this year when everybody picked them to reach the Super Bowl. But I have news for them. They have to win the ball games to get there. That's something they're not going to do this year. In this game, the Jets' defensive front line will bury Dave Craig all day. I look for the Jets to win it by 6.
Dave Koch and Dennis Tobler brought up a good point. There have been rumors circulating around the Northwest that Chuck Knox is not happy with his quarterback, Craig, but obviously Jim Zorn now with the Packers, he doesn't have anybody to go to.
I don't think that it's Knox being unhappy with just Craig. I think he's unhappy with everything up there. This is the transvestite game of the week because Seattle has never lost to the Jets, and they've covered every time they've played them until this week, so the transvestites may get beat. Freeman McNeil didn't have to play last week for the Jets. Well, they missed him, too, with back spasms, but that week off is going to help him a lot. He's going to run wild. Dennis, I agree with your analysis defensively, and I like the Jets.
And the Jets did lose in Foxborough 20-13 without McNeil. He is expected to start on Sunday. Great running backs, McNeil and Warner. Dennis?
I'll keep this short and simple. I'm going to take the trendaholic trend this week so I don't get kicked out of the club with the handicappers. I like Seattle. I think Chuck Knox is a better coach than Joe Walton.
Joe Walton's club playing well, 5-2, but remember last year they were 6-2 and fell apart, so big game right now, I think, for the Jets. Could be a turning point of the season, Don.
Right, Bob. A couple things here. As you mentioned, Dave, about the trendaholics or whatever. 7 times these teams have played. 6 times the Jets have been favored, but they haven't won one game yet, and once again they're favored. The games that they have played, 7 so far, only 8 touchdowns they have scored in these 7 ball games. So defense has been a supreme thing here. Once again, a low-scoring game. I'm going to take the points with Seattle.
All right, Don, our next pro football game, who would believe it right now? The Rams are 7-0, and the Niners are 3-4. They play this Sunday in Los Angeles, and I'll give this game to you first, Dave Kochen. And the Rams are a slight favorite at home. I think the line maker still feels Frisco may be a better football team.
I don't think the line maker feels that way because he did come out with the Rams as a 2.5, 3-point favorite, but now the public is bringing the line back down, and it's probably going to be pick'em. The public may also win this game. I'll tell you, this is the game of the year for San Francisco because if they go to 3-5, they're probably not going to make the playoffs. The Rams may be a little bit cocky right now, having not lost a game. I have to take San Francisco here.
Dennis Hill, 2 undefeated football teams, the Rams and the Bears. When you look at the 2 clubs, it's their defense, and the Rams' defense has been superb. Last week, at least every defensive back had at least 1 interception against Kansas City.
I'll tell you what, L.A. at Mr. Brock has not done the job offensively, and it's a good thing that the Rams have not been behind in any football games, or they would have a few losses. Joe Montana was sick last week, fans, and he had the flu, and that will affect your performance. Any person who has a job realizes that when you're sick, you do not work up to snuff. And this week, Joe will come in, and I look for an easy win for San Francisco, maybe by 20 points.
All right, Don Wagner, the 2 gentlemen on my right like San Francisco and really aren't taking a look at the records in this game. Obviously, they like the Niners on the road. Who do you like?
A couple of things here about the San Francisco team. What's their problem? Okay, one game, Montana's ill. The big problem is first down efficiency. Last year, they had 6.7 yards in first downs. This year, it's 2.3. So this has been a big problem for them. And they're really struggling offensively, and they're supposed to be the big forte of the San Francisco 49ers. Defensive ball game, 49ers must win this. I agree with you, Dave. They must win this, and they will win this. 49ers will win by 10 points.
Well, obviously, Dennis Tobler, you're going to have to make it a sweep if you go with San Francisco in the game. By far, the Niners' best game was beating the Raiders. Do they do it to another Los Angeles team?
Well, I'm going to have to make it a sweep in this game. I feel the Rams are coasting now. They've got a big lead in their division. They're going to play this ball game not to get hurt, which is what they do in the NFL. The 49ers, on the other hand, will be able to put enough pressure on an immobile Dieter Brock to keep the Rams out of the end zone. I look for the Rams to score 7, and the 49ers, they ought to be able to score 3 touchdowns against the Rams. I'll take the 49ers by 14.
Don?
I just want to mention one thing. 34 games the 49ers have played and not been an underdog, and now maybe they will be.
Earlier this year, Jim McMahon came off the bench and put on a clinic at the Metrodome, leading the Bears over the Vikings 33-24. This week they play at Soldier Field. That's our Pro Game of the Week right after this.
If it's winners you're looking for, the TSI Network has your formula for success. Experience. TSI has 3 generations on its handicapping staff, plus a nationwide network. TSI has contacts in 17 major cities, plus Las Vegas-based. TSI is headquartered in Las Vegas, where the numbers originate and change. Equals winners. And if it's winners you're looking for, call on the pros at the TSI Network. Your first winner is absolutely free.
Hi, Dennis Hill for Dial-A-Pic, an innovative phone program you must know about. Did you ever wonder what the insiders are doing? Wonder no more, because you can now get King of the Hill Sports, Atlantic City Sports, The Gold Sheet, Edmund Slick Sports, Allegheny's Analysis, and First and Last Sports. For your free starter kit, call 1-800-842-2489. In New Jersey, 201-272-1662. Call Dial-A-Pic today and start winning.
Welcome back to the Vegas Sports Line, and upcoming our Pro Game of the Week, Minnesota and Chicago. But please make note of our time change. Beginning next week, we'll be on Friday evenings at 9:30 Eastern Time. That's all viewers on SPN, and the rest of our affiliates, we remain at the same time. Earlier this year, it was the Bears coming from behind to win by 9 over Minnesota. This time a 7.5-point favorite at home. Dennis Hill.
Well, as we all know now, Mike Dick has been playing without a helmet on, and it's starting to show. I know a coach in the NFL that's seeing this color, and in a few weeks, that score will be settled. In this game here, big coaching disparity, and I like Bud Grant and the job that he's doing with Minnesota. This is my first 10-star release to the nation. Zip code, this one in, Minnesota, plus the points.
Don Wagner, despite the fact the Bears won 23-7 last Monday, I don't think they look that good. May have been a letdown after knocking off the Niners and getting revenge for the NFC Championship loss.
Psychologically, Bob, you're probably right. That was probably what did happen there in that situation. I like Minnesota here too, Dennis. I like them a lot.
Why?
2 things. One reason why I like them is because that when these 2 teams play, they always win one and lose one. It's been back and forth, the black and blue conference, and they battle back and forth all the time. Plus, under Bud Grant, the Vikings are 7-0 in the role of the underdog, and I have to like Bud plus the points. But Bud doesn't need the points. They're going to win this game by 7, and the Bears will go down to their first loss.
The Bears undefeated. One reason may be the offense is catching up to the defense. Young receivers Galt and McKinnon really coming along, and with Peyton running the ball in the backfield, they're a dangerous offense now.
Yes, they are. I think they're a tremendous football team. Something must be in the air in Minnesota this week, because the Vikings are going to get killed again, just like their counterparts, the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Mike Ditka has done one thing there, whether people like it or not. He has instilled a winning attitude. And you play the game of football to win. It don't matter how bad you beat the other team, just beat them. I'll take the Bears in a blowout.
You know what's amazing about this Bear defense? Al Harris and Todd Bell, 2 splendid defensive players, have been holdouts all year, but it doesn't appear as though it's hurt, Dave Koken.
Well, it hasn't. I think the Bears have played above their capabilities so far this season, and I think they look like they're ripe to be defeated. And they may have gotten defeated on Monday night were it not for Green Bay's problems at quarterback, particularly the insertion of Randy Wrong, or Randy Wright. I'm not sure what his name is, but he wasn't right in that game. And, of course, just incredible, Mike Ditka's move at the end of that game. No class at all. I like the Vikings in this game, too.
And all Minnesota viewers, please send all mail to Dennis Tobler, TSI, concerning the Minnesota teams. We'll be back with a wrap-up right after this.
Hi, Don Wagner of Allegheny's Analysis. I'm hot. I've hit 11 straight 10-star plays in college, and number 12 is here this weekend. Penn State versus West Virginia. I've never missed a Penn State 10-star play. I always know when to go with the Nittany Lions and when to go against them. And you can have this play fully guaranteed for $99 if you call 1-800-654-1313. In Pennsylvania, 814-237-3377. Call me now and let's hit this game together.
The Victory Line, where one call gets it all. Free. 814-234-2233. Get tomorrow's information today. Line updates, injury reports, plus a free selection daily provided by Don Wagner, Dennis Hill, Edmund Slick, Dave Koken, and Rick Rossi. Call the Victory Line now. 814-234-2233. It's the closest thing to a sure winner.
Hi, Dennis Hill for Dial-A-Pic, an innovative phone program you must know about. Did you ever wonder what the insiders are doing? Wonder no more, because you can now get King of the Hill Sports, Atlantic City Sports, The Gold Sheet, Edmund Slick Sports, Allegheny's Analysis, and First and Last Sports. For your free starter kit, call 1-800-842-2489. In New Jersey, 201-272-1662. Call Dial-A-Pic today and start winning.
Welcome back again to the Vegas Sports Line. We'd like to congratulate our guest panelist from a week ago, Mike Thompson of Sports Line in New York, for hitting his pro game of the month. The Eagles a 4-point underdog and outright winner over the Dallas Cowboys. And thanks again to Dennis Tobler. Dennis, 5-1 earlier this year on the program. A big week for you last week in the pros with your clients. What's up this week?
Yes, we went 5-0 for our clients in the pros last weekend, and this weekend we've got some hot college games going. Be sure to give us a call at the TSI Network.
And usually one of our handicappers gives you the tip of the week, but I'll give it to you this week. Anytime a game may have inclement weather, always check the quarterback's hand size. Don Wagner?
Okay, Bobby, just like to remind everybody again that number 12, 10-star hot pick college game goes this Saturday, and I really want you to give me a call. I think you're going to really enjoy this game.
Now, are you going for 12 or 13 in a row with your college hot pick?
I've hit 11 college hot pick games in a row. This is number 12.
And it'll be this weekend?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll go to my right, and Dennis Hill, what's happening this weekend at King of the Hill Sports?
Well, at the home of King of the Hill Sports, I'm celebrating my 9th wedding anniversary with my lovely wife, Lorraine, who's going to be canonized as a saint after 9 years of marriage. And I want to say hello to my 2 little handicappers out there, old Jeff and Timmy.
And Dave Koken, can we top last weekend's performance by you? 2 big releases in college, Syracuse, and of course the big one, USC over Stanford. Anything big this week to look at?
Well, I haven't decided yet, to tell you the truth, Bobby. We've got a way to go on that. I want to especially congratulate a good friend of mine in the business who had quite an accomplishment last weekend, and that's Tom Scott from Buckeye Sports out in South Bend. 10-0 in the colleges and the pros, including a winner on his college game of the year, Notre Dame over Army. I'd also like to remind those people who choose to criticize some of us because we do promote our own services here on the show, at least we win.
Dennis, closing comment?
Dennis Tobler, don't fly to Minnesota.
We'll be back next week on the Vegas Sports Line, and we hope you will be too. Have a good week.